What's the good word, Josh? Your boy DKB here. So I wanted to revisit this left tackle conversation after the juice that we got from Robert Saleh during his press conference today. So he essentially mentioned that he was asked a great question by a reporter. You want to get your best five offensive linemen on the field. Duane Brown has never started a game at right tackle in the NFL. How is that going to be considered in this supposed competition between Mekhi Becton and Duane Brown with getting those best five out there? And he didn't punt, but it was kind of an onside kick at the very least. Robert Saleh ended up mentioning he thinks Duane Brown is going to be a tough out, or at least going to be hard to push out the door, I believe is the way that he phrased it. And essentially the way I took that is he's going to have heavy consideration into the fact that there's going to be some kind of decline in play, moving him over to the right side. Everybody's talked about it to death when AVT changed to three different positions, technically four, over the course of his career, and how difficult it is, what you're being asked to do, mirroring your pass rushes and attacking the run game, the mental piece of it, with understanding what you're looking at, and all of these different things that are going on all at once. So I think we could see a similar situation to what we saw last year. Remember, prior to Mekhi Becton officially ending up, I think it was the kneecap dislocation, some kind of fancy term, but whatever it was, when he ultimately ended up blowing out his right knee, there was the supposed competition, Duane Brown versus Mekhi Becton. Mekhi Becton, as we know, he had to limp throughout training camp and OTAs and different things. He couldn't really complete practices. And so with that unavailability, we never ended up getting around to a true competition. They called it early. Duane Brown was going to be the left tackle starter. Mekhi Becton was going to be on the right side. And he tried to just suck it up and deal with it. But ultimately, it was a lack of availability that led to him not really getting the opportunity to try to go out there and win the left tackle job. We could see the same thing again. According to Duane Brown, he wasn't able to commit to being ready for the start of training camp, which gives a huge plus to Mekhi Becton, who will be absolutely ready. And so if he gets a few practices under his belt and he looks really, really good, Robert Saleh might have to cave and give the job to him early, which would leave a situation where now you figure out, what do you do with Duane Brown? Does he just become the main primary backup swing tackle, where you keep him at the left side, you use him on the right side as absolutely necessary? Would he be okay with the backup position? You are paying him quite a bit of money. Or do you try to force the situation and put him on the right side, where Duane Brown has mentioned before, he hasn't played that position since his junior year at Virginia Tech. So there's going to be a lot of interesting conversations that are going to go on in the offensive line room. A lot of it is going to be based on, can we see both of these guys healthy and on the field for an early competition in training camp? If that answer ends up being no, I think Mekhi Becton is going to walk away with this job. And if not, worst case scenario, then we get to see how much more Max Mitchell may have been able to improve going into a second season, where if he can beat out a Duane Brown, it's not like you're talking about necessarily beating a George Fant, who's kind of been at that position, done it, and he is kind of what he is at that space. But it's still, Duane Brown is a rock solid player at this point in his career. I don't think it'd be a steep decline seeing him on the right side, but there's a lot of things, from the mechanics to the mental thought process, how you're recognizing what the defense is going to do just by flipping sides. And we've talked about that to death when it came up with Elijah Vera Tucker and all the position switches he had to do. So with that being said, I think ultimately getting the best five guys is probably what we're looking at here. And I would predict, again, if health ends up becoming a factor for Duane Brown and him not getting the green light at the start of training camp, we're looking at Mekhi Becton, Laken Tomlinson, Joe Tippmann, Elijah Vera Tucker, and then Duane Brown or Max Mitchell, depending on what the coaching staff thinks is going to be the best way to utilize Duane Brown. But he could essentially just be our primary backup left tackle, with Carter Warren, if he's healthy, or Yanni Kajus, something like that, being the official, unofficial swing tackle for our team. But interesting conversation nonetheless. Let me know what your guys' thoughts are. At this point, I'm just excited that we're finally a couple weeks away from seeing all of this go down. We're going to have the joint practice sessions for our preseason games. We're going to actually go out there and be able to fight some other opponents for a little bit of time, which will be dope. But we do have some critical training camp battles to figure out here. This is going to be one of the biggest pieces early, and it may already be decided. So we'll see. But again, let me know what your thoughts are, and I'll catch you guys again. Peace.